The prairie night carried a silence so vast it could make a man forget he still had a voice. Out there, beneath an endless sweep of stars, stars that looked close enough to burn the skin, the only sound was the wind worrying at the grass, and the lonely creak of a lantern swinging on its hook outside the cabin. Inside, Silas Ward sat by the dying fire, his shoulders bowed forward, one hand absently rubbing the calluses of the other, as though the roughness might wear away with enough persistence. The chair beneath him was older than memory, pine-shaved and hammered by his father's hands, and it had grown heavy with the weight of a man who had grown used to stillness. Silas had not always been a figure of silence. Years back, before the drought, before the failed harvest, before the accident that took his brother, left him carrying 2 ranches worth of ghosts, he had laughed like any other man. But the land keeps its own kind of tally, and it had marked him harder than most. In town at Deadwood Crossing, folks whispered he was cursed. Some said no woman could bear to live with him. Others claimed he'd buried fortune and family in the same dry ground. Silas never bothered correcting them. Truth was, he didn't much care. Life on the ranch had shrunk down to chores, long rides, and nights staring at a fire that never seemed warm enough. Until that summer night, when everything changed. It was near midnight when he heard it. Hoofbeats, faint at first, then clearer, stumbling, desperate. Silas rose stiff and stepped out onto the porch. A figure swayed in the saddle of a worn bay mare. The horse was lathered, ribs showing. The rider, a woman, slumped forward as though she might fall. He moved fast, caught her just as she slid sideways. She was young, maybe 22, hair tangled by dust, eyes glazed with exhaustion, her dress torn, stained with travel. He carried her inside. Later on the bed he hadn't shared with anyone in years. Her breathing, shallow but steady. By dawn, she stirred. Her voice cracked as if it hadn't been used in days. "Where am I?" "Ward Ranch," Silas said simply. "Name's Silas. You rode in near dead last night." She tried to sit up, winced. "Clara," she whispered. "Clara Morton." And that was how she came into his life. At first Silas thought she'd leave once her strength returned. He wasn't used to company. But Clara stayed. She swept the cabin, mended shirts with hands that clearly knew the work, cooked simple meals from whatever was left in the larder. Silas didn't ask questions, though he wanted to. He could see the shadows in her eyes when she thought he wasn't looking. Nights stretched quieter than ever, but not lonely. Her presence softened the silence. By the 3rd week, word had spread in town. Silas Ward, the cursed rancher, had taken in a stranger. Some said she was a runaway bride. Others whispered she was trouble. One man in particular took interest. Vernon Hale. Hale owned half the grazing land south of Deadwood, wealthy enough to buy respect, but never decency. And he had an eye for young women. When he learned Clara's name, he rode straight to Ward Ranch. Hale reined up one hot afternoon, dust swirling around him. He dismounted slow, heavy boots grinding the earth. "Ward," he drawled, "heard you've been keeping company." Silas stepped out, hand resting on the door frame. "She's no concern of yours." Hale smirked. "Everything out here's my concern, especially when it rides in half dead on a horse I recognize. That mare belonged to a Morton ranch hand, a man who owed me more than coin." Clara appeared in the doorway, pale but steady. Her voice trembled. "I won't go back." Hale's grin widened. "Ugly. You will, you're promised. And Ward here's only delaying the inevitable." Silas's jaw tightened. "She stays." The standoff stretched long in the dust. Finally, Hale spat, mounted, rode off, but his words lingered, like smoke. "This ain't finished, Ward. Not by half." The weeks that followed were tense. Hale's men prowled the outskirts of Ward land, testing fences, spooking cattle. Silas worked longer hours, rifle slung at his shoulder. Clara insisted on helping, but he could see the fear in her movements. One night, by the fire, she told him the truth. Her father had owed Hale money, too much. When he couldn't pay, Hale offered a bargain, Clara's hand in marriage. Her father agreed, without asking her. She ran before the wedding, took the first horse she could. Tears shone in her eyes. "I'd rather die than belong to him." Silas was quiet at first, then he reached across, rough hand covering hers.
"You are safe here."
And for the first time in years he meant every word. It came without warning, A midnight blaze lit the barn skyward, flames roaring. By the time Silas reached it, half was already gone. He drove the cattle free, Clara at his side beating sparks with a wet blanket. Together they fought until the fire choked itself out, leaving only blackened beams. Silas stood breathing hard, soot streaking his face. That was an accident. Clara met his eyes. Hail. Next morning, Silas saddled his horse. Time to end this. Clara caught his arm. He'll kill you. Silas shook his head. Maybe, but he won't take you. Her eyes searched his. Then I'm coming too. They rode into Deadwood Crossing together. Townsfolk stopped and stared as they dismounted in front of the saloon. Hale lounged inside, laughter loud. His smile vanished when they entered. Well, look what the cursed man dragged in, he sneered. Come to hand her over, Ward? Silas's voice was calm, steady as stone. She's not yours. She never was.
Hale rose,
fury twisting his face. His hand went for the revolver at his hip, too slow. Silas drew first. The crack split the room. Hole stumbled back, shock wide in his eyes, then collapsed. The saloon fell silent. Silas lowered his gun. Clara's hand slid into his, trembling, but unyielding. By dawn, word had spread. Vernon Hale was dead. Back at the ranch, Clara stood with him in the charred remains of the barn. The land was scarred, but not beaten. Together, they began to rebuild. That night, Silas sat by the fire. Only this time, he wasn't alone. Clara's soft laughter filled the cabin. And for the first time in years, Silas Ward let the silence go. And in its place, came something almost like peace. The prairie still carried its vast quiet, stretching from horizon to horizon. But inside the cabin at Ward Ranch, the silence had changed. It was no longer grief, no longer curses whispered in town. It was softer now, gentler. The silence of two people learning how to start again. And sometimes, that's the only kind of ending a man can hope for. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you felt. And if you want more powerful stories like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Every click helps this channel bring you more unforgettable tales. Don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss the next twist that could change everything.